Hey Falcons, and welcome to another episode of our virtual career week. Today we are lucky enough to have the owner of Dominos throughout the Maritime provinces. Mr. Pete Richard is with us today, and he owns 15 locations across the Maritimes, which is Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, and New Brunswick, and soon to be number 16. Welcome to Forest Hill School, Mr. Richard.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the time to speak with you and your students.
Excellent. Thank you. We're going to get right into our questions, and we have 5 questions for you today. And these 5 questions come to us from our middle school students. And our first question is, what inspired you to choose your career?
Well, I was finishing off school at UPEI. I had just finishing up my business degree. And I really, at that time, didn't know a lot in terms of what I wanted to do. I really had no real set career path. I knew one thing, and is I did not want to work for anyone else. That was plain and clear. I had done some odd jobs throughout the years, and had basically got to the point where I realized that, no matter what I got into, I wanted to try to dictate, my own path as best I could. And when I was finishing off at UPEI, a friend of mine's dad had 2 Domino's pizza locations kind of fall back into his lap. One in St. John and one in Charlottetown. These were ventures that he had originally started, but he was into many other things, restaurants, construction company, millworking companies. He really had his hands in a lot of stuff. The Domino's thing would have been a distraction for him. So he'd come to me and basically asked me if it's something that I'd be interested in. And I was, at first I remember being a little hesitant, but then really started to see that, Domino's at that time was a brand that had a lot of room to grow, not just in St. John and Charlottetown, but all over the region. So that's kind of where I saw the opportunity and how I got into it.
Excellent. What is your favorite thing to do at your job currently?
I get to make pizza for a living. I'm pretty lucky. To you and your students who are watching this, there's not many people who are going to turn down pizza. It's a pretty easy thing to do, and it's a pretty easy thing to put a smile on someone's face. So whether it's, passing out pizzas or, I have the ability to give away a lot of free pizzas in my days, and just to see that reaction out of people, it's something else. And it's just the smallest little gesture, but it really does mean a lot to people. So it's fun to do.
Excellent. What are some roadblocks that you have faced along the way? And was there anything specific in your career that you struggled with that motivated you to continue to grow further?
The first roadblock was me, getting into business at a young age, right at a university kind of thing. I kind of came at it with, a little bit too much of an attitude, and was young and pretty much thought I knew everything. I'm sure none of your students have that, philosophy or anything like that, but it was something that, kind of got in my way early on. But the more that I, would sit back and realize that, hey, if you do a little bit of learning every day, that's not a bad thing. And you're going to pick up on some things that can really help you. That was the first, roadblock. The second one was, and this is kind of the boring one, but it was, trying to get financing to buy out the gentleman who gave me this opportunity. I knocked on a lot of doors and went to a lot of banks, and, all I was a, 22-year-old student with a degree and a boatload of student loan debt. But, as time prevailed and I was persistent, all this is paid off.
Excellent. Excellent. Good message to our students about persistence and hard work right there.
Yeah.
What kind of support did you receive along the way?
Well, first and foremost, the gentleman who helped me the most, his name is Jerry McDonald. He's who I bought the stores off of. He gave me a lot of runway to learn this business and make some mistakes on his dime early on. And then even after I bought him out, and we would meet quarterly to go over things, and he was still there to give me the same guidance that I needed. Pat in the back every now and then, and more importantly, a nice kick in the needed. to smarten up and get things done properly. To this day, he's someone I'll still pick up the phone and talk to. Beyond that, there's too many names to list, but I have a lot of counterparts throughout the country that have been valuable resources to lean on. Other franchisees, corporate team members in Canada, corporate team members in the US, corporate team members in Australia, you name it. We're in 70 plus countries. I have a lot of resources that I can reach out to that have seen the issues that I think are unique to me or a problem, and they really aren't. Someone else can easily say, yeah, that happened to me 2 or 3 years ago, and then walk me through. And then, last but not least, the support I have from family at home is huge. My wife is an entrepreneur as well, so there are times where things can get a little hectic in the household, and we have young kids too, but they sometimes know that, when daddy gets up and has to take a phone call, that, all right, he has to take that phone call. But, after you sit back down and you get back to the family, they appreciate it, and things go very well.
Excellent. And this is kind of follows along with what you're talking about with your support. And when we work in team environments, how important is it for you to get along with your colleagues and others who work around you?
Very. I work in a lot of committee and advisory boards now where I sit around, a table or Zoom call, I guess these days, where you have a lot of strong opinions and a lot of strong egos. And it's important to hear everybody out. It's important to understand their point of view and to get along. And that's the biggest thing, is getting along and respecting one another. You're not always going to be best friends with people that either you play sports with, that you sit in the classroom with, or, that you work with. That's the reality of, school, sports, and life. But, to get anywhere and to accomplish anything or a goal or anything like that, you do have to respect the people around you and to get things done. So, getting along with one another in a mutual respect is big.
Excellent. And that was our fifth question. Before we sign off, Mr. Chair, we'll give you an opportunity if there's anything additional you'd like to say to the Forest Hills Falcons.
No, listen, thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. It's challenging in these days to do these types of events, but, I'm glad that you guys came up with a nice way to do this virtually. I can't thank you guys enough. Hopefully you've learned something. And if anyone has any questions about anything that I do or anything that I don't do anymore, or whatever it might be, feel free to reach out. You guys have my contact information. I'd be happy to answer anyone's questions, whether it be students, teachers, whoever it might be.
Excellent. On behalf of the students and staff at Forest Hill School, we would like to thank you for taking your time and joining us today at Virtual Career Week. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.